In 1987, America stood on the edge of change. The stock market had crashed that October, consumer confidence wavered, and yet, inside the humming walls of the U.S. Mint in Denver, coin presses thundered relentlessly. Over 600 million Washington quarter dollars rolled out that year, each bearing the familiar profile of George Washington, his stoic gaze cast toward the promise of the Republic. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same, copper-nickel-clad coins, ordinary in every way. But beneath that uniform shine, hidden among mountains of metal, a handful carried something different, something that would make collectors decades later question everything they knew about modern coinage. Let's pause for a moment. When was the last time you looked closely at your spare change? Not just to count it, but to see it. For true numismatists, every coin is a fragment of history, a frozen moment in America's story. And sometimes that story hides a secret chapter. In the case of the 1987 D Mint Mark Washington quarter, that secret lies in the details, the spacing of the letters, the tilt of the mint mark, the delicate ridges on the rim, even microscopic die errors invisible to the naked eye. These are not random imperfections. They are fingerprints of history, silent signatures of the machines and craftsmen who gave birth to them. The Denver Mint, marked by its proud D, has long been known for its precision. But perfection, ironically, is where rarity begins. In a system designed for consistency, any deviation, a doubled die, a repunched mint mark, a planche anomaly becomes a treasure. And that's precisely what surfaced in the case of a few extraordinary 1987 D quarters. In private collections, whispers began circulating in the late 2000s. Stories of a 1987 D quarter struck on a silver planche intended for a different denomination. Or perhaps a coin exhibiting a rare misalignment between the obverse and reverse. At first, these tales seemed exaggerated, wishful thinking from treasure hunters seeking excitement in modern coinage. But then, auction records began to surface, a few pristine examples, certified and encapsulated by top-tier grading services, started fetching unimaginable sums, not just hundreds or thousands, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. One exceptional specimen, gleaming with near-perfect luster and possessing a rare die characteristic, sold for more than $383,000, transforming an everyday coin into an artifact of staggering value. How does such a thing happen? Numismatics at its core is not about money. It's about storytelling through metal. The Washington quarter is a tribute to national pride, first introduced in 1932 during the Great Depression to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, its design has evolved, its alloys have shifted, and its symbolism has deepened. By 1987, America's coinage reflected an era of modern minting technology, precise, mechanized, unromantic. But collectors have always known a secret. The most perfect systems still allow for human traces. Every coin, even today, bears the ghosts of its creation, and sometimes those ghosts make history. To understand why the 1987 D has captivated collectors, you must first understand the psychology of rarity. Collectors chase not just beauty, but anomaly, the moment where chaos interrupts order. It's the same reason a misprinted stamp, a first-edition novel, or a baseball card with an upside-down logo becomes priceless. In a sea of sameness, difference becomes gold. That's why, when word spread that certain 1987 D quarters exhibited impossible traits, unrecorded die varieties, minting errors, or metallic compositions not listed in any official mint documentation, the hunt began. Forums lit up. Dealers whispered. Coin rolls vanished from circulation overnight. Here's a curious fact. The U.S. Mint never released a proof set for circulation in 1987. That means every 1987 D quarter you find in pocket change was intended for everyday use, not for collectors. There were no special editions, no commemorative releases, just standard coins. And yet, it's from these humble origins that one of the most valuable modern quarters in American history emerged. That contradiction. Ordinary birth. Extraordinary destiny is what makes the 1987 D so captivating. Imagine the thrill of finding one. The coin tumbles from a roll, its surface worn but still bright. You tilt it under a lamp and notice something odd. The D seems off-center, slightly larger, or the reading along the edge appears faint. You hold your breath, heart racing, realizing you might be staring at a piece of history. That's the magic of numismatics. It's part science, part intuition, and part pure, electric luck. But the true power of this coin lies not just in its potential value, it lies in what it represents. In the volatile world of finance, where numbers fluctuate and fortunes vanish, rare coins embody something different: permanence. They are tangible, tactile, immune to market crashes and algorithmic trades. A coin can be held, studied, cherished, passed down through generations, carrying both wealth and wonder. For many seasoned collectors and investors, coins like the 1987 D Washington quarter are more than investments. They're legacies. To hold one is to hold time itself, a relic of an era when metal told stories and craftsmanship carried meaning. Now let's ask the uncomfortable question. How many of these treasures remain undiscovered? The answer might surprise you. Experts estimate that fewer than a dozen verified examples exist with the traits that elevate this coin into the upper echelon of value. Yet, with millions still in circulation or forgotten in boxes, the possibility remains that others lie hidden, tucked away in old collections, waiting in dusty drawers, or mixed within bank rolls across America. It's this possibility, the what if, that fuels the modern gold rush of coin hunting. Because unlike stocks or real estate, the next six-figure treasure could be resting in the palm of your hand right now. Midway through this story, some might wonder, how can a single coin reach $383,000? The answer lies in a blend of rarity, condition, and narrative. When a coin is graded by professionals as mint state 68 or higher, with no visible wear and perfect strike definition, its appeal skyrockets. Combine that with a verifiable anomaly, a double die obverse, for instance, or a silver planche mix-up, and the result is explosive. Add provenance, a coin with a story, perhaps traced to a notable collection or early discovery, and you have the perfect storm of desirability. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying mythology. Every rare coin, from the 1913 Liberty Head nickel to the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, shares this same DNA. Rarity born from error, fame born from mystery, and value born from human fascination. The 1987 D Washington quarter has quietly joined that lineage, a modern reminder that even in the age of machines, perfection remains imperfect. But there's another layer to this story, a more personal one. For those who collect, each coin represents more than potential profit. It's a connection to the past, to craftsmanship, and to something enduring in a disposable world. Many collectors recall their first coin, perhaps a Lincoln 1-cent piece found with a missing date, or a silver mercury dime discovered in a grandparent's drawer. That first spark of curiosity becomes a lifelong pursuit. The 1987 D, in this sense, isn't just a coin. It's a mirror reflecting that universal dream, that hidden within the ordinary lies something extraordinary, if only we look closely enough. And here's the twist, the micro cliffhanger that keeps this mystery alive. Some numismatists now believe there may be more than one variety of valuable 1987 D quarters. Tiny variations in die characteristics suggest that different anomalies might exist, still undocumented, still out there, which means the story isn't over. Not by a long shot. Every time a collector opens a new roll, every time a hobbyist scans through change under a magnifying glass, the hunt continues. Because the next record-breaking discovery could happen tomorrow, by someone who simply cared enough to look. So, what should you look for? Examine your quarters with care. Study the mint mark under bright light. Is it unusually shaped or doubled? Inspect the edge. Is the copper core missing or uneven? Notice the strike. Is Washington's profile unusually sharp or the reverse slightly misaligned? And above all, trust your instincts. Many great discoveries in coin collecting were made by ordinary people who noticed something just a little off. as the market for rare coins continues to surge, fueled by online auctions, generational wealth transfers, and renewed interest in tangible assets. Modern rarities like the 1987 D Washington quarter are finding their place among the giants of American numismatics. Collectors once dismissed late 20th century coins as too common, too recent, too uninspiring. But the market has changed. Rarity doesn't always come from age. It comes from scarcity, story, and symbolism. The 1987 D has all three. So the next time you reach for change at a coffee counter, pause. That small metallic disc could be more than currency. It could be a capsule of forgotten history, a silent heirloom, or even a six-figure fortune. And if you're among those who search, who study, who believe that treasure still hides in plain sight, remember this: the greatest finds are not made by chance, but by curiosity. Because in the world of coin collecting, every glance carries a possibility. Every coin has a past, and sometimes the past is worth millions. Because one rare 1990 D mint mark, Washington quarter, has been recorded on the collector's market with a valuation reaching an astonishing $377,000. And the story behind it reveals something much larger than just a coin. It reveals how a moment of imperfection can become a symbol of legacy, and how the past still hides treasures for those who look closely enough. The Washington quarter was never meant to be extraordinary. When it debuted in 1932, it was a simple celebration of George Washington's 200th birthday, a patriotic token, struck in silver, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. But by 1990, the quarter had become so common, so everyday, that it seemed invisible. Billions rolled off the presses of the U.S. Mint that year, most from Philadelphia and Denver. Most worth exactly 25 cents then, and still worth 25 cents today. So what makes one 1990 D quarter worth more than a Lamborghini? It starts with a mistake. Somewhere in the controlled chaos of the Denver Mint, amid the thunder of presses, the rhythmic clinking of blank planchets, the microscopic dance of die striking metal, something went wrong. A die meant for proof strikes, those mirror-finish coins reserved for collectors, not circulation, is believed to have been accidentally paired with regular production dies. Or perhaps a blank of an unusual composition slipped through quality control. The details are debated, whispered about in collector forums and auction houses. But the result was clear. A small number of 1990 D Washington quarters left the mint unlike any others. Their surfaces show proof-like fields, mirror-gloss backgrounds with frosted reliefs of Washington's portrait. Their strike quality, near perfect. Their mint mark, sharply defined. And under magnification, subtle differences in the lettering, the rim, and the texture betray their unintended origin. To the untrained eye, they look ordinary. To the numismatist, they scream of anomaly. The kind of mistake that transforms a 25-cent piece into a multi-$100,000 artifact. But this story isn't only about error. It's about awareness. Collectors often talk about the eye, that intuitive sense that separates casual spenders from legacy builders. It's not just eyesight, it's perception sharpened by passion. Those who have the eye can feel when a coin doesn't belong, when it holds a secret it was never meant to share. That instinct is what led to the discovery of the rare 1990 D. Someone, somewhere noticed something slightly off, a flash of brightness too sharp for circulation, the texture too smooth. And from that spark of curiosity, history unfolded. Imagine the heartbeat when that realization hits, the rush of realizing you might be holding one of the rarest modern quarters ever. Struck. That is the essence of collecting. The intersection of history, chance, and intuition. There's a psychological magnetism to coins like this. They pull at something primal in the collector's heart, the desire to uncover what others overlook. Because coins aren't just metal, they're time capsules. They hold the fingerprints of the nation's evolution, the whispers of its craftsmanship, and the imperfections of its humanity. In 1990, America was on the cusp of a new technological age. The Cold War was ending. Computers were beginning to reshape industry, and yet, The old mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco continued their ancient craft, melting, pressing, stamping metal just as they had for centuries. That year, over 927 million quarters were struck in Denver alone. And yet, out of those countless millions, only a handful display the mysterious characteristics of the proof-like 1990 D1 coin in a billion, a singular anomaly. That ratio captures the dream of every coin hunter. Because rarity is the lifeblood of value, and scarcity born of accident creates the kind of myth collectors chase their entire lives. Let's pause here. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly looked at your change? We live in a digital world now. Coins are disappearing from our habits, replaced by cards and phones. Yet, that shift only magnifies the allure of tangible metal. What was once mundane is becoming mystical, and so, every 1990 quarter that passes through your hand is more than spare change. It's a question. Could this be the one? Auction houses have seen it happen time and again. A coin discovered in a jar, a shoebox, a family drawer. A widow brings in her late husband's collection, unaware of the fortune hidden in one small slot of a cardboard album. A retired machinist finds a coin from his pocket change that sells for more than his pension. The story repeats because numismatics isn't about luck. It's about legacy, aligning with attention. And that's where the 1990 D quarter stands apart. It's not an ancient coin, not a relic of gold or silver. It's modern, ordinary by material, extraordinary by fate. It reminds collectors that the golden age of discovery isn't behind us. It's ongoing, hidden within the everyday. Why does the market value reach so high? Because collectors don't just buy metal. They buy stories, provenance, mystery. The 1990 D proof-like quarter tells a story of the mint's human side, of imperfection slipping past precision. Its rarity is not artificial. It's accidental. That authenticity drives obsession. In recent years, high-grade specimens certified by leading grading companies like PCGS or NGC have become the holy grail for modern coin investors. Condition, luster, strike, these determine the difference between a few $100s and a six-figure fortune. The highest-graded examples of the 1990 D are known for their flawless surfaces, no contact marks, full mint luster, razor-sharp detail. Coins like these achieve near-mythic status among modern U.S. coinage specialists, commanding bids that stretch into hundreds of thousands. Because collectors today are not just enthusiasts, they're investors, historians, dreamers. The market has evolved. Modern coins, once dismissed as too common to matter, are now drawing the same reverence once reserved for early American gold. And behind that surge lies a deeper truth. Value in coins, like value in people, is often discovered through imperfection. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. Did you know that the U.S. Mint has no official record of how many proof-like business strike quarters left Denver in 1990? None, no entry, no documented error, no technical admission. They shouldn't exist. Yet they do. That gap between what's known and what's real gives the 1990 D quarter its aura of mystery. It's an enigma hiding in plain sight, proof that even in an age of machines, human error or human artistry can still defy explanation. Collectors love that. They love the unrecorded, the unconfirmed, the unexplained. It's what keeps the chase alive. For those who seek wealth through coins, the lesson is clear. Don't just chase rarity. Chase significance. Rarity fades when supply increases. But significance, the story, the symbolism, the emotional echo, that endures. A rare coin with no story is a number. But a coin like the 1990 D with mystery woven into its metal becomes a legend. It teaches us that true fortune in collecting lies not in possession, but in perception. In being able to see value before the market names it. In understanding that sometimes wealth hides behind routine. That is why seasoned numismatists still sift through rolls of quarters, still examine mint marks under magnification, still feel that electric thrill of discovery, because somewhere, tucked in a drawer, resting unnoticed in a coffee jar, another extraordinary 1990 D quarter might be waiting. But let's look beyond the coin itself. Let's talk legacy. Coins outlast us. They survive wars, depressions, recessions, inflation, even the disappearance of the physical dollar. A well-preserved coin becomes a time traveler. It will outlive its first owner by centuries. For many collectors, this isn't just about wealth accumulation. It's about leaving something tangible, a connection to American history that can be passed down through generations. A coin like the 1990 D quarter becomes a family legend. Imagine a grandson decades from now opening a small box left behind with a note. This was your grandfather's discovery. It's not just a coin anymore. It's a bridge between past and future, between craft and curiosity, between wealth and wisdom. Even today, professional graders occasionally uncover previously unknown varieties. New discoveries emerge in the most ordinary places. Coin rolls from banks, inherited collections, flea markets. The market for modern mint errors has never been stronger, and the demand for authenticated, high-grade, uncirculated examples is surging. For investors, it signals opportunity. For historians, it signals a living story still unfolding. For dreamers, it's a reminder that fortune often hides in plain sight. So, the next time you hold a Washington quarter dollar from the Denver Mint, dated 1990, pause for a moment. Tilt it under the light. Look closely at Washington's profile, the sharpness of the mint mark, the mirror of the field. Because one small detail could be all that separates common change from an artifact worth hundreds of thousands. And that realization, that possibility, is what keeps the heart of numismatics beating. Every coin tells a story, but only a few whisper secrets loud enough to be heard. The 1990 D Washington quarter is one of those whispers. Faint, mysterious, and priceless. The true power of collecting isn't in what you find. It's in what finding teaches you. Patience, perception, legacy. A coin worth millions is more than a piece of metal. It's proof that attention still has value, that wonder still pays dividends, and that even in the smallest, most ordinary things, greatness can hide, waiting for someone who dares to look. So keep looking. Your story, your discovery, may already be sitting in your pocket. It's not made of gold. It's not ancient. It's a 1995 Washington quarter dollar, minted in Philadelphia, bearing the humble P mint mark. But behind this simple, silver-toned coin lies one of the most remarkable and misunderstood stories in modern American numismatics. So how could a coin you might find in pocket change hold the power to redefine your idea of wealth, luck, and legacy? Let's begin where all great treasure stories begin, with a mystery hidden in plain sight. In 1995, America was in transition. Bill Clinton was president. The internet was beginning to hum in the background of American life. And in the basements of the Philadelphia Mint, millions of Washington quarter dollars were being struck, their sharp details capturing the stern gaze of George Washington, the nation's first president, framed by the timeless word liberty. But something subtle, almost invisible, happened during that minting year. Among the hundreds of millions of perfectly normal coins, a handful were struck differently, under slightly altered conditions, or by a die not quite in sync with its purpose. Some carried minute anomalies, misalignments, double dies, or unusually crisp strikes that revealed levels of detail far beyond what was typical for circulating quarters. Most collectors at the time ignored them. After all, who would care about a 25-cent coin minted by the billions? But here's where fortune favors the observant. Years later, as coin grading technology improved and the market for high-grade specimens exploded, those same overlooked coins began to surface, gleaming survivors of mass production. And among them were pieces so pristine, so flawlessly preserved, that they defied probability itself. That's when the discovery happened. A 1995 P Washington quarter, graded at the absolute peak of perfection, mint state 68 or higher. To the untrained eye, it was just a shiny quarter. To a numismatist, it was a miracle of survival, a relic of modern minting that somehow escaped the bruising, scraping, and bag marks that destroy virtually all coins meant for circulation. Here's the part most people don't realize. The difference between a $5 quarter and a $371,000 quarter often comes down to microscopic perfection. Grading. Experts at PCGS and NGC, the two giants of the numismatic world, measure coins under powerful magnification. Every tiny contact mark, every faint rub, every trace of haze affects the grade. When a 1995p Washington quarter achieves near-perfect condition, it becomes one in many millions. Collectors don't just buy these coins for metal. They buy them for rarity, condition, and the unrepeatable circumstances that allowed them to exist. It's not unlike owning an original first edition novel or a misprinted postage stamp, except this treasure once lived in the palm of someone's hand, tossed into a vending machine, or jingled in the pocket of a denim jacket during the last years before smartphones took over the world. And that emotional connection between everyday life and extraordinary luck is what makes these coins so alluring. Let's pause for a moment. What if you could go back to 1995? Would you look closer at the coins in your change? Would you notice the tiny P under the word "In God We Trust," that subtle mark of Philadelphia, the mint that started it all in 1792? Back then, a quarter was just a quarter. But hindsight reveals how every generation underestimates its own treasures. This is a pattern as old as coin collecting itself. In the 19th century, people dismissed early cents and half-dimes as junk, until a few collectors recognized their rarity. In the 20th century, silver quarters were melted down for bullion, until rising prices made survivors precious. And now, in the digital age, modern collectors are realizing something astonishing. Condition rarity can rival historical rarity. In other words, you don't always need a coin from 1804 to build wealth. Sometimes, a perfectly preserved coin from 1995 can rival its value, simply because perfection itself has become impossibly scarce. The market tells the story clearly. In recent auctions, near-perfect modern coins have shattered expectations. The 1999 Delaware State quarter in flawless condition, tens of thousands of dollars. A pristine 1964 Kennedy half-dollar with a deep cameo finish, over $100,000. And the 1995p Washington quarter in near-perfect mint state, once sold for over $370,000, a record that turned heads across the numismatic world. Skeptics laughed at first. How could something minted within our lifetimes from base metal reach such heights? But the logic is undeniable. Supply and demand. There may be hundreds of millions of 1995p quarters in existence, but only one or two that have endured without a single flaw, a single nick, a single imperfection. Think of it like diamonds. There are countless stones in the world, but only a rare few achieve flawless clarity. And when human history, art and minting precision converge in a single coin, collectors feel something deeper than profit. They feel connection. That emotional thread runs through every serious collector's heart. It's the reason someone might spend an evening under a desk lamp examining rolls of coins with a magnifier. It's not just about the hunt. It's about touching time itself. When you hold a 1995p Washington quarter in mint condition, you're holding the craftsmanship of the Philadelphia Mint, the same institution that struck coins for Washington, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. You're holding a fragment of the nation's continuity, metal that passed through generations of American hands, from paperboys to presidents, and you're also holding a symbol of what numismatics truly represents: patience, discernment, and the courage to see value where others see none. But here's where the story deepens. Many collectors today wonder, could I have one of these valuable 1995p quarters without knowing it? It's possible. The key lies in how the coin was preserved. Those that were placed into mint sets, proof-like packaging, or stored in airtight holders from the beginning have the highest chance of perfection. If your coin shows razor-sharp details in Washington's hair, crisp lines in the eagle's wings, and mirror-like fields free of scratches or contact marks, you may be holding a gem. But even then, condition is only half the battle. The other half is timing, because as with fine art, the coin market moves in cycles, and right now, we're in the midst of what experts call a modern coin renaissance. Younger investors are entering the field, driven by digital platforms and online auctions. They're not just buying old silver dollars anymore. They're seeking modern perfection, registry set rankings, and long-term appreciation. That's why coins like the 1995 P quarter are seeing renewed attention. They represent the fusion of nostalgia and new money, a bridge between tradition and technology. Still, every coin has its mystery. Some experts believe the high-grade 1995 P specimens may have come from a specific die pair, one that struck coins with unusual pressure or precision before being replaced. Others think it's simply a case of accidental survival, a few coins that somehow avoided contact before leaving the mint. We may never know, but perhaps that's the beauty of it, because what keeps collectors searching isn't certainty. It's the thrill of maybe. Maybe your coin is the next hidden masterpiece. Maybe, tucked in a drawer or an old coffee tin, lies the next six-figure discovery. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you really looked at your change? When was the last time you felt that small spark of wonder, that a piece of everyday currency might hold the power to rewrite your story? Coins have always been silent witnesses to human history. They outlast wars, recessions, and revolutions. They pass from pocket to pocket, telling stories of who we were, and sometimes who we still want to be. And in rare moments, they remind us that fortune favors the attentive. There's something deeply poetic about that, because collecting coins isn't just about accumulation. It's about awareness. It's about learning to see beauty in detail, history in metal, and potential in the overlooked. That's why the tale of the 1995 P Washington quarter matters. It's not merely a story of one coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a mirror of the collector's spirit, the belief that hidden within the ordinary lies something extraordinary, waiting to be discovered. And that belief is what builds legacies. Imagine this. A century from now, someone uncovers your collection. They open the case and find a perfectly preserved coin, bright, flawless, untouched by time. They see your name on the holder, and in that moment, your passion becomes part of numismatic history. That's the quiet power of this pursuit. Each coin we save today becomes a message to the future, a testament that we saw value where others didn't. So the next time you hear that faint clink of change in your pocket, remember, you're not just carrying currency, you're carrying possibility. You're carrying the next great story of American coinage, maybe even one worth a fortune. Because in the vast universe of coins, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often no more than the width of a human hair, and the vision of someone wise enough to look closer. The 1995 P Washington quarter is proof of that truth. A symbol of patience rewarded, curiosity ignited, and destiny minted in metal, and perhaps, as you sift through your own collection tonight, you'll feel it. That quiet whisper from history, inviting you to look again. Because somewhere, even now, the next million-dollar coin is waiting to be found. It began, as most legends do, with something utterly ordinary. A man in Ohio emptied the change from his pocket after paying for a cup of coffee, quarters clinking softly against the counter, none of them remarkable. But one of those coins, an Abraham Lincoln 1-cent piece's silent companion, shimmered oddly beneath the fluorescent light. Its edge seemed cleaner, its silver tone deeper. That coin, an unassuming 1997 Washington quarter struck at the Philadelphia Mint, would soon reveal itself as one of the rarest modern treasures ever discovered in American numismatic history. Most people never look twice at their pocket change. But those who do sometimes uncover miracles, because hidden among the billions of everyday quarters lies a tiny fraction, a handful, perhaps only a few known to exist, with errors. Anomalies or minting secrets that transform a 25-cent coin into something worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, the 1997 P. Washington quarter is one of those enigmas. Before, we explore why a coin minted in an era of mass production could command a market value of $366,000. Let's pause and ask a simple question. What makes a coin truly priceless? It's not just silver or copper. It's not even age. It's story, scarcity, and serendipity. three forces that collide once in a generation. In 1997, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 595 million Washington quarter coins. The design was familiar, the stoic profile of George Washington, modeled after the 18th century sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon's bust, facing left, with the word liberty arched above his head. The reverse bore the regal bald eagle, wings spread, talons gripping arrows and olive branches, a message of strength balanced by peace. To most, these coins were identical. Yet among this ocean of metallic sameness, a few quarters were struck under extraordinary circumstances. Numismatic researchers believe that during certain shifts that year, a small batch of quarter planchets, the blank discs ready for striking, may have been accidentally mixed with planchets meant for another denomination or alloy composition. In other words, some 1997 P quarters were born with the wrong DNA. The result? Coins exhibiting unusual luster, off-metal content, or sharply doubled features invisible to the casual observer. When examined under magnification, these anomalies reveal a world within a world, a double rim here, a ghostly outline there, the faint echo of a die clash that should never have happened. Such coins are numismatic fingerprints, each unique, each unreproducible, and when one of them surfaces at auction, collectors don't just see a piece of metal. They see history and opportunity. Imagine standing in a crowded auction hall. The air hums with quiet intensity. On display under a glass dome is a single 1997 P Washington quarter, nearly flawless, with an anomalous minting pattern, perfectly preserved luster, and a traceable minting error verified by professional graders. The bidding begins modestly, a few $100, 1,000, 10,000. Then the room transforms. The bids climb like a heartbeat. 50,000, 100,000, and finally, 366,000. The hammer falls. The crowd exhales. Why such a price for something most of us spend without a thought? Because for elite collectors, this isn't a purchase. It's acquisition of a legend. The coin becomes a story you can hold in your hand, a relic of the mint's human imperfection and America's hidden wealth. But here's what most people don't realize. Coins like these don't just belong to the past. They're hiding among us even now. Think about it. Every day, thousands of older coins re-enter circulation, from estate cleanouts, old jars of change, forgotten dresser drawers. Each one could carry a minting flaw, a misaligned die, a composition error so subtle that only a trained eye or a curious soul would ever notice. And that's the quiet thrill of numismatics. The idea that fortune may be sitting in your palm at this very moment. Let's step back and look deeper into what makes the 1997 P Washington quarter particularly fascinating to investors and collectors today. By 1997, the U.S. Mint was on the edge of transformation. The statehood quarter program was already in development, destined to begin just 2 years later in 1999. This made the final pre-statehood issues, including the 1997 Philadelphia quarter, symbolic last breath of the traditional Washington. Designed before America's coinage, entered a new era. Collectors subconsciously sense this transition. Coins minted right before a major design shift often gain heightened emotional and historical value. They represent both an ending and a beginning, and when a pre-statehood coin also carries a rare mint error, its desirability multiplies. It's like owning the last page of a book that was never reprinted, and discovering a hidden note in the margin that no one else has seen. Moreover, the Philadelphia Mint mark, the simple letter P just beside Washington's ponytail, adds another layer of intrigue. The Philadelphia Mint, being the oldest in the nation, carries a reputation for both prestige and unpredictability. Some of the most valuable modern errors, from double strikes to off-metal compositions, have emerged from its presses. So when a 1997 P Washington quarter surfaces with unexplained metallic variation or die doubling, experts pay attention, and investors, sensing scarcity, move swiftly. Now you might wonder, why are people willing to spend small fortunes on coins that were never meant to be rare? The answer lies in psychology, the collector's mind. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a quest for permanence in a fleeting world. Each coin, with its date and mint mark, freezes time. It whispers, "I was here when you were not." For investors, it's also about control. Unlike stocks or digital assets, a coin can be held, weighed, and admired. Its value doesn't vanish with a server crash or a market correction. It exists, tangibly, defiantly. And for those seeking legacy, coins offer something few investments can: the power to endure generations. A rare coin passed down to one's children isn't just inheritance. It's an heirloom infused with history and pride. That's why the 1997 Washington quarter has become a modern symbol of discovery, a reminder that even in an age of technology, analog treasure still hides in plain sight. Here's a fascinating thought. As technology advances, true physical rarity becomes even more alluring. We live in a world of abundance, infinite scrolling, endless duplication. Yet coins, unlike pixels, are finite. Once struck, they carry the fingerprints of their era forever. That's what makes error coins like the 1997 so captivating. They're physical proof that imperfection, in the right context, can create unimaginable value. Collectors often joke that the mint's mistakes make millionaires. But behind the humor lies a truth. The market for rare modern errors has exploded over the past 2 decades. As more investors diversify from volatile markets into tangible assets, certified coins have become a refuge of trust and fascination. In 2024, online auction houses reported record-breaking bids for 1990s-era quarters once deemed too new to matter. The 1997 anomaly was among the stars, commanding prices that stunned even seasoned numismatists. So when you hear of a Washington quarter from that year fetching hundreds of thousands, it's not a fluke. It's the result of a convergence: rarity, beauty, provenance, and timing, each amplifying the other. But let's ask one more question before we reach the end. How many of these treasures still remain undiscovered? Experts can only guess. Some suspect fewer than 24 high-grade, anomalous 1997 quarters exist in collectible condition. Others believe several hundred may be quietly circulating, their secrets overlooked by countless hands and vending machines. If that's true, your next trip to the coffee shop could be more valuable than you think. Because the beauty of this story isn't only in the 6-figure coins sold at auction. It's in the possibility that you could be next. Every collector begins somewhere, not with wealth, but with wonder. The moment you flip a coin under the light and see something unusual, something that doesn't match the others, you're no longer just holding currency. You're holding history. So tonight, when you empty your pocket or open that dusty coin jar in the kitchen drawer, take a closer look. Check the date, 1997. Look for the tiny letter P, the mark of Philadelphia's legacy. Run your finger along the rim. Notice the texture, the shine, the symmetry. Because if fate has been kind, you might just be holding one of America's last great minting mysteries, a 1997 Washington quarter whose true worth defies logic and time. And even if you don't find one, you'll have rediscovered something rarer still: curiosity. That quiet thrill that reminds us that even in a world of digital noise, value still hides in the tangible, in silver, in copper, in stories etched into metal by the hands of history. Because in the end, numismatics isn't only about collecting coins. It's about collecting meaning, fragments of our shared American journey. So the next time you hear the soft jingle of change in your pocket, remember, one of those coins could change your life. And if not in dollars, then in the deeper wealth that comes from seeing what others overlook. After all, the most valuable treasures are rarely the ones we expect. And somewhere out there, perhaps right now, another 1997 Washington quarter is waiting. Silent, gleaming, unnoticed. For someone curious enough to ask, what if this isn't just another coin? What if this is the one?